and pleasure to introduce my favourite CEO of my favourite council, for at least for today, Miss Kiersten Fishburn, who's been the Chief Executive Officer of Liverpool Council since late 2016. With an expected population of 331,000 by 2036, Liverpool is one of the fastest growing and most diverse communities in Sydney. As Chief Executive Officer, Kiersten's priorities include supporting the delivery of the Western Sydney Airport and creating the associated jobs, investment and infrastructure for the community of Liverpool. Previously, Kiersten held a number of executive positions at Liverpool City Council, focusing on community, culture and engagement. As Director of Liverpool's Casula Powerhouse Arts Centre from 2011 to 2016, Kiersten led the creation and delivery of a contemporary arts and cultural development program. Prior to joining Liverpool Council, Kiersten was Manager of Culture for City of Sydney from 2005 to 2011. Before then, Kiersten worked at Accessible Arts, where she consulted nationally on audiences for people with disabilities in the arts. Kiersten has a Bachelor of Art Theory from University of New South Wales, an MBA Executive from RMIT, and is a Vincent Fairfax Ethical Leadership Fellow. Welcome, Kiersten.
We're excited about the prospect of the new Western Sydney Airport being an Aerotropolis, being its own city. We're very well placed to service that, and that was part of the consideration when we decided to build a hotel. It was one thing to relocate our horse selling facilities. It was a second thing to actually build a hotel.
For Australian wholesale needs, having the airport extremely close by is going to be fantastic for our imports and exports.
We could have relocated our business to anywhere across Australia, but we decided to relocate to the Liverpool region because it really is the centre of Sydney.
When we moved to the area, Liverpool Council were great to deal with, and on top of that, the factors of the infrastructure around this area, there was no comparison really.
One of the wonderful opportunities that comes out of the development of the Aerotropolis is employment for graduates of all types of backgrounds. University of Wollongong came to Liverpool in partnership with Liverpool City Council to make a difference.
We provide employment for women from a disadvantaged background. These women that you see now working and learning and growing will one day, hopefully, have that opportunity in the Aerotropolis to open their own cafe.
Look, hand on heart, Liverpool Council, the most progressive council that I've dealt with. They've been very supportive of investment in the Liverpool area.
It's just unlimited potential there.
It's just perfect. You've got all the infrastructure meeting all in one place in Liverpool.
I promise there was no cash for comment involved in the making of that video. I would like to acknowledge that we meet today on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. Well, the last time I spoke at an Aerotropolis summit, Liverpool was cementing itself as the gateway city for WSA. And after the weekend's announcement, we were at the centre of what is arguably the most significant commitment to the growth of Western Sydney in the form of the ratified city deal. We now have the first sense of what the Badgerys Creek Aerotropolis might look like, and it's entirely in our backyard. The city is shifting westward towards us. Liverpool's advantages are clear. The distance between our city and the airport is alive with opportunity. And we hold the key to the success of the Aerotropolis. We're its biggest, most dynamic neighbour, and we have the manufacturing heritage and the business know-how to make an Aerotropolis thrive in that Goldilocks zone between WSA and Liverpool CBD. It's not too big and it's not too small. So now what? We're not sitting on our hands. If you haven't already, you'll meet today my manager, Aerotropolis, Bruce McNee. He's a panellist on an interactive roundtable later. Bruce has been on a study tour of airports in the US, Europe and Asia. He picked up some valuable tips from very successful Aerotropolises, I always think that should be Aeropropoli, attached to LAX, Schiphol Airport near Amsterdam and Incheon. He learned that these airports are just like us, aspirational and innovative. Incentives are common and many use PPPs. All face difficult governance challenges, but the successful ones manage the competing interests. Sustainability, one of Bruce's passions, is also a must-have, as we've heard this morning, particularly on the large greenfield site that is WSA. These successful international airports all told a story of a strong need for transport links, and we're now thrilled to know that WSA will be connected to rail from day one of operations. We're doing our own heavy lifting in the transport space, and I'll get to that later. The other message Bruce received loud and clear was about the importance of the community as leader. The airport and Aerotropolis must be a good neighbour, and we will have a major role to play. The people of Liverpool can see the benefits of having an airport in their backyard. But a successful Aerotropolis will need to strike the right balance of business activity and recreational use with a buffer to residential dwellings to avoid the constraints that have strangled the potential of many an international airport. Liverpool City Council has a wellspring of talent in our young, diverse population. The City Deal announcement has given a focus for our workers of tomorrow. They will now have access to better jobs and a better quality of life. We know that an international airport and its Aerotropolis will create a full range of work opportunities, from blue-collar to white-collar jobs. It will need labourers, technicians, tradespeople, sales and retail staff and managers, but also aeronautical engineers, tourism operators and educators. Council is leading the community into employment opportunities and into the type of education advancement that will give locals an advantage in what will be a competitive and dynamic place to work. Take Australian Wholesale Meats, as you saw as an example. That supplier relocated to the Liverpool area because of our people. They value their staff so highly that they were willing to move their entire operations to Preston's to be closer to where many of the people who work for them live. Their move to our city is not the end of their story either. They now reach markets in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria and can see international opportunities that will open up to their business with the arrival of the airport. They're seeking their import-export licence because of the new frontiers available. Inglis and Sons know the value of living where you work. They relocated their 100-year business to Warwick Farm. And of course, WSA Co, the organisation that will build and run Western Sydney Airport, has opened up for business in Liverpool. So if you're doing business with the new airport, you're doing it in our city. The University of Wollongong has long realised Liverpool's potential, and Western Sydney University Chancellor Professor Peter Shergold has said that the university opened its campus in Liverpool in large measure because of the innovation opportunities associated with WSA. We want to see a TAFE-run skills exchange in operation to upskill workers in the construction industry while the airport is being built. But opportunity does not extend only to those from a disadvantaged background. Our population is aspirational, dynamic and hungry for a quality education, and we as an organisation are aspirational, and we're backing it up with action. We're committed to connecting school students to the opportunities springing up in the Aerotropolis. We'll be in regular contact with Education Minister Stokes about the education precinct in North Bringelly, which will have a new university, specialist STEM school and trade training. Think about the new prospects for a high school graduate from one of the suburbs between Liverpool and the airport. There's university options, but previously she would have had to travel to the eastern city, and realistically her career options would probably have remained there. She now has the opportunity to get a specialised degree that will lead to a high-quality job, all in her own neighbourhood. That is precisely why we are leading the charge to create an Aerotropolis that becomes the hub of opportunity for our future workers and leaders. And on transport, I can't say too much about this yet, but Liverpool City Council is working with a number of stakeholders in the public and private sectors to deliver an innovative mode of commuting between our city and the airport in the form of a rapid transit corridor. We are getting on the front foot when it comes to getting workers to the Badgerys Creek site for its early construction phase, when it is operational and during future expansion. This project has a twin benefit. It will unlock access to jobs for our diverse population and connect international travellers to the Sydney Transport Network. We're aiming to make the trip between Liverpool and the airport 20 minutes in duration. That fits more than neatly with the Greater Sydney Commission's future vision of the 30-minute city. Liverpool City Council wants to stop the flow of workers spending hours on buses and trains to get to work, losing quality of life and time with their loved ones. Big projects require a big vision. Liverpool, we have liftoff. Thank you.
Do we have questions for my favourite GM? Oh, we do. In case you can't read that. Governance to deliver this opportunity is critical. With multiple councils, should we not consider one super council for Western Sydney?
It would be a brave general manager to tackle an amalgamation question. However, what I can say is that the Western Sydney City Deal does bring together the 8 councils that are part of the Western Parkland City in a governance framework which allows us to retain our individual identities, but also to work with federal and state to plan regionally. I think that's probably the Goldilocks zone between amalgamations and remaining very localised and parochial. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the City Deal will allow the councils to help shape the Western Sydney Parklands more strategically.
And in fact, can I just add to that? Because when I saw Minister Ayres to discuss opportunities in this particular space, there are within councils the people that actually get work done. The general managers really look after the council as an entity, but there's a bunch of professionals in local government now that are upskilling and they're capacity building. They are called the economic development officers of councils. And some councils have made great investments in getting the right people in time to make the most of the opportunity presented by the Aerotropolis and the airport. There is a professional officers forum made up of economic development officers across all of the councils of Greater Western Sydney. They're the people that are actually going to make things happen, and they're the ones that are going to be engaging with state and federal government to make sure that the momentum isn't lost on this. So you don't need a super council, you just need key decision makers and key people within local government collaborating in a common forum with a common purpose. And I think we've achieved that even without amalgamation. Second question. Oh, I haven't seen one of those things before. Would Liverpool Council support a high-speed rail to Parramatta?
Is that between Liverpool and Parramatta? We currently have a very slow rail between Liverpool and Parramatta, so yes, we'd certainly support a faster rail. If that's a high-speed rail between Parramatta and the airport, well, yes, in principle, of course, we think that the people in the central city should be connected to the airport, but we also think it's critical that the western cities, Liverpool, Campbelltown and Penrith, have got good connectivity too, because they're the people who will be using the airport and the workers for the airport as well.
And the rail needs study, if you look at the preferred network for Western Sydney, while some would argue it's not enough, the reality is that as part of the preferred network, there is a link between the 3 cities, a direct link between the 3 cities. But there's been no commitment given as to the delivery of that, but at least it's recognised as one of the features of a future transport network for Western Sydney. Not being any more questions, Kiersten, thank you very much. Could you please thank Kiersten for that?
Thanks, Charles.
Effort. Thank you.